Hi, I'm Grant. Today, I'm going to be talking about how you can become a millionaire making minimum wage. Now, before I get started, I need to make two things very clear. One, minimum wage here in California is $15, and I realized that as I was making this video, so I'm basing this off of $15. That being said, I'm adjusting the age from 18 to 25 so that everything still works out, because I'm assuming that in 7 years, having been an adult, you should be able to make up the difference. The second thing is that if you learn anything valuable from this video, it's really important that you hit the like button. No, but in all seriousness, let's get started. Alright, so I'm not going to lie. I was in somewhat of a flame war on TikTok earlier today, and someone started talking about how it wasn't reasonable to invest in retirement making minimum wage. And although I agree with that to some degree, I also kinda have my own opinions, and here they are. Now, despite what the internet will tell you, it's actually pretty feasible to find an apartment in California. It's not going to be in a great area, but it's really easy to find an apartment in California for under $1,000 a month. You can even get a one-bedroom. It doesn't even have to be a studio. So that means that out of a $31,000 income, you're only going to be paying $12,000 in rent, and of course the rest is going to go to food, expenses, utilities, blah, 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 blah. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. This would be a lot easier if you were making more money, but if we're going to be working with minimum wage, then we have to assume that you're going to be living below your means. And as any of you can guess, living below your means when you're working minimum wage is hard. I'm talking about using the unlimited talk and text 2 gigabytes of 4G LTE at Boost Mobile for $15 a month kind of, not sponsored by the way, kind of struggle. I'm talking about living on the beans and rice kind of struggle. I'm talking about eating Cheerios and drinking your tears kind of struggle. But you can be a millionaire by the time you retire. So the first thing you need to do is budget your money and figure out how much money you need to survive. Now, although I just mentioned that you're going to be living for under $1,000 a month in rent in California for this example, you're also living a minimalist lifestyle, and that includes utilities, so I'm going to go ahead and round it up to $1,000, even though you'd be able to find rent for about $800 a month. So just from your utilities alone, minimalist, you're not on your computer all day, you're not using your air conditioner all summer long, minimalist, you're going to be looking at about $12,000 a year for utilities and for your rent. Now for food, you're going to be eating in. You're never going to go to a restaurant. They don't exist to you. So that's going to be about $150 to $200 a month, and that's going to be based off of the cost of what I eat, because I don't go out unless I go to McDonald's, and that's like $4, and even then my food bill isn't that high. Now, I actually paid off my car, but if we talk about car insurance, I'm paying about $200 a month, so that's going to be another $2,400. That will just add on now. And right now, we're looking at about $17,000 a year just to survive, which leaves us with about $14,000 left, but it's more like $26,000 after taxes. So what does that mean? That means we have exactly $11,000, which is actually a pretty crazy amount. I didn't think we'd have that much as I was saying this. I could probably bump up these numbers a little bit. But it's fine, $11,000, because I'm assuming life's going to happen, you're going to have things that you need to pay for, and fine. Whatever. Alright, so here's the $1 million plan. There's this thing called a Roth IRA, and what a Roth IRA is it's an investment account for retirement, and how it works is you put your after-tax money, that's money that, you have after your paycheck, you put it into the account, and as long as you wait until 59 and a half years old to pull it out, all that money is completely tax-free. Now the good news is that you can invest in something like the S&P 500, which is annually brought back about an 8% return every single year. And what that'll do is it'll let your money grow tax-free up to 59 and a half years old, and then you can pull it all out. Now, I'm going to assume that you're not going to retire until 65 in this example, just because most people don't retire at 59. Now, even though we started off with $11,000 left, I'm going to assume that we spent some of it. I'm going to assume that we had to buy clothes, that I had to celebrate my anniversary with my girlfriend, or that my computer broke and I needed to buy a new one. Now, all of a sudden, that $11,000 that we had left is looking a little bit more like $5,000. So here's where the magic happens. If we start a Roth IRA at 25 years old, this is for those of you that don't make $15 minimum, I'm giving you 7 years to increase your income to $15 an hour. If we start a Roth IRA at 25 years old, and we start putting $5,000 per year into that Roth IRA, which is roughly 15 to 20% of our income after tax, then we're going to end up with a grand total of $1.39 million by the age of 65. How does this work? Well, again, you're growing by 8% a year, so if you put $5,000 year 1 and $5,000 year 2, you're not getting 8% back of $10,000. You're getting 8% back of the $5,000, and then you're getting 8% back of the $5,000 plus the 8% plus the next $5,000, and over the span of 40 years, this adds up to about $1.4 million. Now, I'll cop to it, a lot of you aren't going to have a paid off house by the time you're 65 years old. And that's really unfortunate because it's something that you absolutely need to have done by the time you retire, is have a paid off place to live, whether that be a condo or a house or something. As long as you're not renting and as long as you're not still paying off a mortgage, you really gotta have that done by the time you retire. Now the good news is that if you have that house paid off by the time you retire, you're gonna have $1.4 million plus Social Security that you're just going to have. Now, if you take that $1.4 million and you keep investing it in the stock market at an 8% annual return via the S&P 500, you're going to get 8% of $1.4 million every single year that you can just use. Now, although $112,000 sounds like enough money, if you do end up needing to use the $1.4 million, that's completely fine because it's unlikely that you're going to live long enough to be able to use it all anyway. Now, that sounded really dark, I know, but you need to, stay with me for a second. The average US income is $60,000, and that's not enough for a lot of people, but for you who has a paid off house, that's going to be fine. You're not going to have any bills except for medical bills, utilities like electricity and water, and your phone bill. There's obviously car insurance, there's gas, there's other things, but the majority of people's income in the United States goes to rent and mortgage. So as long as you're not paying off that, you shouldn't have to use $60,000 a year. That should be more than enough for anyone. If you just kept using that $1.4 million and you were only using, say, $40,000 or $50,000 of that a year, then you could easily live for another 25 to 40 years, and 25 to 40 years after 65, that's a lot of money. Anyway, that's how anyone, the average Joe, who doesn't make a single cent raise in their entire life, can become a millionaire by the time they retire. Thank you so much for watching my video. Be sure to hit the like button if you got any kind of informational value from this video, because it really would help me a lot in the YouTube algorithm. Be sure to invest in the subscribe button because it's guaranteed to increase in value over time, and don't forget to get your free stock with Robinhood. Robinhood is an investment app that lets you trade stocks in literally the easiest way possible. It's completely free to use, free to buy stocks, free to buy options, free to buy crypto, and it's completely free to put in and take out your money. Use the link in the description, get a free stock, I'll get a free stock. It's a win-win for everyone, and it's basically free money. Thank you so much for watching my video. I'll see you next time.